But also, I do think there's an opportunity here for Ray Farkey to punish. I know hasn't really been playing these sort of scaling champions too much in
Yeah.
bad matchups. So if there is an opportunity for Ray Farkey that rock the team to really pop off here, I do feel like this particular game is the best shot so far.
As all the Burning Core fans will be hoping that you're right and they can get a W on the board. We are into game now for our first match of day 3 here at the LJL Summer 2022. Passive start from both of these teams, maybe alluding to the scaling that does exist on both sides and not wanting to give up that early advantage.
I was just gonna ask you, Vidal, what are you expecting from the early game?
I mean, there's a Braum with a spellbook. Maybe there's some shenanigans that can occur, but I mean, the craziest thing we've seen is a ward cleared in bot lane.
I would have loved to see the Braum invade with the Jinx onto an Aphelios Nautilus, but yeah, unfortunately, no. The teams are going to play it nice and safe for now. Junglers both starting on their respective blue buffs here, so unlikely that we're going to see a ton of early fighting. And as I say that, Jinx gets hooked.
Small back away there from Loser as the concussive blows passive stacking up, but not being procced. I've got to say, I don't envy Loser coming in. I believe this is their first game of LJL in their career. And they have to do it against Soul and Secret, a pairing who we've always talked about as a bot lane duo rather than a support and an AD carry, because that's how well they work together.
Agreed. I mean, individually, I think Soul can make a run for the top 3 AD carry, but it's really alongside Secret that propels them to that top. And I think as a duo, they're probably the best bot lane together synergy wise, even though there's other names, you know, the likes of hybrids, for example, or Sangchu potentially as well. Soul and Secret as a duo are just looking absolutely nuts. And you kind of alluded to it earlier that when you come into a new game, when you're a new person, pardon me, in coming into the game here, you can't play scared. You've got to play aggressive. And so far, Loser has done just that as well, buying Yuhi this little bit of space. If anything, they've won out the trade that we saw in that bot side already, and Soul's the one who's out of pots and sitting at half health.
And I mean, speaking of trades, Dice getting a pretty decent one onto recap there in the mid lane is at a little bit of a disadvantage in terms of the mana. So not going to be able to spam out those spells quite as much. Hatchametcha, I believe, was spotted as he was moving around his jungle. So Benincourt should know that he's on this top side crab. Ray Farkey shoves the wave in and takes a reset.
Hatchametcha actually snuck around the ward because they saw
he?
Dice put it down. So Dice doesn't know. And there's a chance right now with the aggression that Dice is putting down. Whilst Recap did lose health there, they did trade it for Dice's mana. And after all that nice, beautiful setup, you see the ping. They know where the ward was. And Hatchametcha's like, you know what? Doesn't matter. I really want my chickens here. I don't care. You're on your own, Recap.
You got to clear them at some point. And I mean,
you've got a nice juicy chicken in the mid lane, Middlecott. Take that chicken first.
I know, but he's got a lot of HP. He's very, very scary. And he can summon other chickens.
But think of the gold here now. TP right back in from Recap right away. That's interesting to me because Dice didn't really shove that lane. You didn't need to TP back in, and Hatchametcha wasn't even waiting to make that particular play. So now Dice actually has a bit of a TP advantage here. You can shove that out, you know, get that 1300 gold, go back, pick up the mana item, the lost chapter, pardon me, for better sustain as well.
Flawless. Making an incursion into Hatchametcha's jungle is going to be backed up by Yuhi and Loser as Secret and Soul think about rotating over, but they are a level down as it stands. And Dice actually, after achieving that shove in the mid lane, is going to make his way to this bot side as well. We could see some early action potentially.
Potentially, Middlecott, but this is the LJL, so of course they just look at each other and kind of walk away. I appreciate, though, that Burning Core is trying to make these actions, and Flawless, now this is a bit greedy sticking around here. Does steal away the big wolf, though.
Yeah, might be punished for it, though, as Recap is moving over. Secret is here as well. Flawless, dodges away from the flash. Concussive blow. The Ignite dropped as well. Flash for flash trade, I mean, you'll take it.
I feel like against any other team, Middlecott, that doesn't happen. We'd see the mid laner flashing for that charm, you know. We'd see the support just all in it right away. But Rascal Jester's Recap just doesn't want to go in for it. And then that kind of just burns Secret's flash for really not much at all. Great takeaway from Burning Core. And You know, we kind of said that Rascal Jesters need to be the one to set the tone of this game with this Wukong, with this Ari, but so far, it's Burning Core middle card who's kind of getting away with it, and with the scaling of their composition, they're exactly where they want to be.
Yeah, I mean, Ray Farke's doing fine. Dice is up CS in the mid lane, and he's even down a back, so Recap should be getting the better end of these trades. But in the bot lane as well, actually, it's Yuhi and Loser who have been getting the shove fairly consistently, have generated themselves a CS lead, and with those double summoners off Secret, I imagine that they could push that tempo a little bit further.
Yeah, and I'm starting to wonder now why Yuhi was, swapped to the support role. Was that kind of Burning Core's secret plan here? Tell Yuhi that, hey, if you don't perform, we're going to chuck you at support here, and then put him now onto AD carry and to lit a fire under him? Because, yeah, you're right. He's been getting shoved. He's been getting roam as well, right? That whole invade was Yuhi and Loser, completely just leaving lane, going in, whereas Soul and Secret stuck around a little bit more, trying to get that CS, and they're still down CS. Absolutely massive for Burning Core's bot lane.
And it's a good start, but the thing is, how can you transition this? How can you take these small advantages and actually get something with them? Because this game's still fairly even. Yes, it's a 500 gold lead for Burning Core that has been built off of those laning advantages, but we really care about stuff like Drake, stuff like Heralds, these big objectives that can get significant leads for your team.
Speaking of which, middle card, that dragon's been up for 2 minutes, and neither of these teams have really looked at it. Hachamecha now finally going for it, and this is Rascal Jesters kind of surrendering Herald control a little bit for Dragon control instead here, and it really kind of sets the tone for how these teams want to play. We've said that Rascal Jesters is a late game team for the most part, and they're showing it once again here by opting for the Dragon instead of the Herald.
Flawless there. Just warding out the top side of Rascal Jester, using himself to provide some of that vision. As Hachamecha is going to be able to clear this blue buff. And you know what? I like this from Burning Core. You're not falling apart in the early game. Flawless is going to be able to steal away that red buff. Reset has just come through for Soul and Secret, so they may look to make their way towards the top side of the map and actually contest this Herald.
Yeah, that would be a really good play from Rascal Jesters here, recognizing that, hey, we took that dragon a little bit early here. We need to go to that top side if we want to contest this, if we don't want to trade here. And because they do see that Yuhi stuck in that bot side for that extra wave, they know that they've got a numbers advantage.
Dredge line into the Spectrum Wall. Cyclone has to be popped very early, and it's a swift disengage from Burning Core after getting that ultimate out.
Yeah, and at this point now, Rascal Jesters, for all we're praising them for getting the numbers advantage, all that's been nullified because KO was only half a champion, so your numbers advantage was 4.5 versus 4. And when you screw up with Hachamecha Cyclone like that, you don't have the big team fight tool. Yuhi gets to rotate back up as well. And mid lane, Dice has done an amazing job making sure that Recap is never healthy enough to really help out their jungler.
That's the thing. Every time we seem to pan over to this mid lane, it's Recap who's half HP, half mana is being forced away, and that's not the way that things are meant to go into Azir lanes. Dice is going to be a huge carry later on into the game. Yes, Recap can operate as a facilitator, and you've got a couple of great carries that you can facilitate for, but it doesn't feel like this Ahri is going to be a big damage threat in this game.
No, definitely not. This feels like an Everfrost Ahri game, where you just kind of go utility, try and lock down somebody to set the rest of your team up. Secret is still level 5 only here, and playing a little bit with fire.
Yeah, that's where you walk up, you start spamming Ahri, like, wait, hold on. I'm a support. I don't get my ultimate until 15 minutes into the game.
Yeah, and I love how Yuhi and Loser, they didn't back off either. They're like, really? You're approaching me right now? Come at me, bro. Like, I'm okay for this.
And that's the confidence. That's what we were speaking about. You can't come into these matchups against these top-tier players with that fear in you, because it means that you're just going to miss these CS. You're not going to go for that last auto on the trade, which could be the difference between securing that shove, securing that lane advantage. And we know how much Soul and Secret are able to push those advantages when they get them. But as it stands, it's Burning Core who are in the driver's seat.
Yeah, and speaking of advantages as well in that bot side, I just do want to revisit that. The fact that Soul has caught up in terms of CS, and with that cull, does actually mean that they're ahead economy-wise here. So great play from Rascal Jester's bot side. And as you mentioned, now Burning Core has the Herald as well, so they've got the initiative here. The question is, what do they want to do with it? They don't have to push the pace if they don't want to, but it feels like a bit of a wasted opportunity considering how well their early game went.
And, I mean, injecting some gold into any of these lanes is going to feel great for you because you've got these late game carries that spike so hard on itemization points. That extra, well, up to sort of like 450 gold that you can get from the Herald can be very, very impactful. It's been a bit of a slower game, which I don't think either of us are particularly surprised about. Next Drake spawning in a minute and a half. Do either of the teams want to take a flip on this, as we may be seeing a flip actually occurring in the top side? Ino still has that Divine Judgment and the Flash available. Flawless doesn't quite get the predict. Still commits the ultimate, though. This is really, really deep stuff from both teams, committing the teleport from Secret up to that top side, but don't really get anything for it.
Yeah, and I think that was Burning Core's attempt at trying to be a little bit more proactive here. And to be fair to Burning Core, they are generally a faster team. They don't really like to sit back too long, for better or for worse, because sometimes it does backfire quite terribly. So it is not surprising to me that they are forcing that particular top side play there. Doesn't pan out, but they didn't burn too much. They did trade flashes, and I would expect to see them go back up there shortly here. Divine Judgment is still up for Ino. Didn't get used here, though, so they will have to expend a little bit more, I think, to look for that first blood.
I mean, that's key. That KL ultimate is so powerful, but the cooldown is also massive, especially at these early stages, so you really don't want to be blowing it prematurely. It's basically the equivalent of a summoner spell. What that did mean is that Burning Core were able to pull Secret towards the top side. That meant that Yuhi and Loser could get priority in that bot lane, and with this Herald shove in mid, Hextech Drake spawning in 15 seconds, it's Burning Core who have control of the river.
And for Rascal Jesters, they did manage to sneak away. I say sneak away. They just walked up to that first dragon and picked it up here.
And the pressure's been seeded.
Well, I'm going to be honest here, Middle. I'm not sure why Burning Core just seeded pressure like that. Ray Farkey's TP was almost up here, would be up first, so they would have had numbers advantage if they want to play it for it. Or maybe they're just baiting. They're playing the long con here, Middle God.
Yeah, Flawless waiting in that hallowed mist. Loser just going to be fishing for a hook. Smite goes down onto the Drake. Is going to be taken out. Recap. Not quite able to find Dice, but is going to use another charge of the Spirit Rush. The hook somehow connecting onto Secret as the fight is going to start in earnest. And the Braum just goes down for first blood. So maybe in threat range now as Dice is slowing them down. Be hit with a Winter's Bite. Hook landing only onto the clone though. Burning Core can't get any more.
Great use of the clone by Hachimecha. They're holding it specifically to stop the dredge line. And for Burning Core, I feel like they got a little bit greedy. You could have just walked in there and taken the dragon if you wanted. You were stronger. You had priority there. You end up ceding that priority, and it feels like what they wanted to do was try and corral, punish Rascal Jesters, find multiple kills on the back end instead. And if you got 2-3 kills, it's worth it. But when you only really find Secret here, then it's not really worth. And for Secret, great Glacial Fissure to disengage and let everybody get out. I got a little bit worried for Soul here. But again, once again, Hachimecha's great clone means that Rascal Jesters, they're going to be okay with this. The dragon stacking is worth that one kill.
I think that's the key thing. If you don't get the Drake in that scenario, you're feeling a lot worse. And even though you are down, actually a pretty sizable 2k at this point with that Herald challenge in the mid, getting some plates over, and then that subsequent first blood onto Secret, you're not feeling as bad as you necessarily would be, although you do need to start looking at this game with a little bit of worry, because if Burning Core are able to take away that third Drake spawning in 4.5 minutes, the sole win condition kind of dies.
Yeah, and I feel like that, whether or not you're worried about that middle cart tells us a lot about whether you're a Rascal Jesters fan or a Burning Core fan. Like, if you're a Rascal Jesters, like, true fan, you're probably like, that's fine. They can take all the dragons they want. We just need to hit 40 minutes and we'll win this. If you're a Burning Core fan, you're like, no, yes, we denied the soul here. We can keep stacking. Though I would feel like, and we'd have to check with Echo on this since he's our resident Burning Core fan, how comfortable he feels about Burning Core going late. Because like I said before, they're not really a late game team. And I feel like if it comes down to it, in terms of unforced errors, my money is on Burning Core making the unforced error first.
Yeah, that kind of has been the play pattern a couple of times for them. Well, play pattern, things that have happened in games that have gone badly for them. I will just say, though, with all of that context, when you've got stuff like a GP or an Azir on your team, you only need, like, one overstep for someone to lose about 70% of their HP in late game. And at that point, that's as good as a kill because you're forcing them out of the fight and you can pretty much take whatever you want.
Very, very true. And as much as Kale seems to be a lot of people's preference into the GP, and it does incredibly well in the 1v1. I do actually favor the GP a little bit just for the pre-threat to a lot of those fights. The barrel range is much further than Kale, and you can hit multiple targets with it. And like you said, chuck people out. The fight's done before it even starts here. So if we do get to that super late game, it still does come down to Rascal Jesters, and specifically Ino, piloting those fights right, especially the prep to those fights, making sure that they're not taking too much poke before the main event.
Yeah, and it is going to be on Ino, and it's on a champion that we haven't really seen from them before, and on a style that we wouldn't necessarily expect from them. I think we've got a few top laners in the LJL, like your Naps, and I think Paz kind of fits in there as well, where their champion pool is broad-ish, but it's slightly focused in a specific direction. I know a bit more of a bruiser player does throw out the carries every so often, but this is the first time that we are seeing them on the Kale, and RMC, it's level 11 right now, so we don't need to be too scared yet, but once that hits level 16, that can be a real threat that Burning Core need to fear.
Yeah, especially in these team fights, which RJ have set themselves up for fantastically. Flawless, walking right into secret here, but this is Rascal Jester's jungle, and Burning Core, they can't really punish just yet. There's been no turrets taken here, middle corner. I feel like that's what's really slowing this game down. Once turrets go down, then Burning Core can look for these sort of punishes on members rotating through jungle solo.
Well, we did just see Yuhi opening up with the red and white guns on the Aphelios onto that bot lane tower, so maybe taking that one down on the next couple of shoves. Ino's got a lot of the pressure in this top lane as well. Drake spawning in 20 seconds. And once again, it's Burning Core who are here first and are clearing out a lot of this vision.
Okay, so that means they're going to see this in 10 seconds, right? Is that what we're going to see? I really hope not, middle card, because this is third Drake here. This is potential soul point, and Burning Core, you really don't want to give that up. Yes, it's only Cloud, but I feel like Cloud's really dangerous when you've got somebody like a Kale who needs to close that distance. Dice TPing in here, so looks like they're actually going to not cede pressure. They want to claim this themselves.
It's a statement of intent. Obviously, Cannon Barrage also available for Ray Farkey. Probably not going to be able to join this fight directly, but Loser actually getting played onto immediately. There comes Cannon Barrage into a triple knock-up! Ray Farkey claims that kill as Hachimetra is going to be forced away. Secret on the back line as well. Ino gets charmed in, throws up the Divine Judgment, but will go down. Yuhi claims that kill. It's 2 for Burning Core, and they're going to take the Drake as well.
Let's go, middle card. This is what we've been waiting for. It's only taken, what, almost 20 minutes for us to actually see a real big team fight. Rocket doesn't matter. Okay. But yeah, it feels like this is what we wanted to see from Burning Core. On second Drake, you're stronger. Just force the fights exactly like that. And now they get the dragon. They're going to get mid. They can get bot lane as well. And Rascal Jesters are now firmly on to the back foot. The map is open. And suddenly, you're not as safe to farm up. We're getting the replay here. And you can see that Rascal Jesters thought they had the advantage. They're the ones who actually called the TP down on from Ino first here, and it looks good initially, but the Cannon Barrage from Ray Farkey means that even though he teleports later, he actually has more impact than Ino does, and they get the numbers advantage from Burning Core. They absolutely punish on it. They get the kills here, and this is what they just need to do for every single objective. And Rascal Jesters, you just need to pull that trigger a little bit faster, find that initial kill a little bit quicker.
Yeah, and I feel like Rascal Jester kind of got baited there a little bit. Like, champions like Azir, champions like Aphelios really like it when you try and walk into them, try and stand in their face, because that means that they can hit you with damage constantly. Loser able to turn it around and get that really big knock up to start off that fight. And Rascal Jester, you've got the scaling composition, but you are going down in these fights, and you're starting to lose a little bit of proactivity. I mean, the fact that we haven't seen a kill come out for you guys at this point in the game isn't the worst thing in the world, but we need to start seeing something. Otherwise, Burning Core, with the confidence that they're playing with, they look like they could run away with this game.
Yeah, and I fear middle caught that at this point, after that last fight especially, there's a decent chance that we just see Rascal Jester kind of fall back to a holding pattern until Ino hits that level 16 here. Now, only 3 levels away. It's not the worst choice considering how the early game has gone for them, and it now becomes contingent on Burning Core to make sure that they can maximize this time period. If they don't want to force anything here, then they need to make sure that they're funneling farm to the right people, mainly being Ray Farkey and Dice here. Yuhi has done a great job, don't get me wrong, but I think the utility that Aphelios provides means that you can afford to funnel that gold a little bit more towards the GP, towards the Azir, who are primarily there just for damage.
Yeah, if you use Alt Gravitum in a team fight late game, that's pretty much all you need to do, honestly, with the amount of damage that you've got that can follow up on it. I will say that once Rascal Jester start to get towards some of these item spikes, I think once Soul hits 2 items, he is going to be outranging Yuhi in a lot of scenarios, and maybe that's an angle that Rascal Jesters can look to play through, but look at Dice just on this top side, an item up on Recap, and whilst he doesn't go for that shove into the tower, you can see how much pressure this Azir is already able to put out.
Oh, I know.
So, oh no. I know.
Yeah, oh no.
Divine Judgment. Yeah, it's going to use it. Oh, that's big. That's big. That's a 2.5 minute cooldown at this stage. It's not great for Kale.
I actually expected Ray Farkey to just keep going there. Cannon Barrage was up. You can just lay that down for the slow. But yeah, that's interesting. And now Burning Core have the opportunity to actually go for Baron here, leave Ray Farkey on that bot side. Again, you can use the Cannon Barrage into teleport here. So I think maybe that's the call why they didn't bother running Ino all the way down here. And Ino's TP isn't back up yet. So if Ino goes to respond to this bot wave the moment he shows, Burning Core have no fear on this Baron take.
Oh, absolutely none at all. Ray Farkey can teleport into this one if he wants to. Flawless joining Burning Core in peeling off this Baron.
Oh.
And I feel like that's not the first time that's going to happen this game.
True. The Baron has been a bit of a sticking point for some teams here in the LJL so far. But you know what, Burning Core, that's fine. I appreciate, you know, they're being patient, they're being careful. They don't want to give up too much here. And honestly, they can just go back to sieging right now. Dice is a massive threat. Look at the poke he's putting down, you know, onto Secret, onto Soul. And the biggest worry for Rascal Jester isn't the damage that he's putting down. It's more just that they don't have a good way to punish the Azir whatsoever. And let's not forget the passive as well. It makes it so difficult for Hachimicha to find a flank onto these lanes where you're sieging up the inner turrets.
Saying that though, Rascal Jester, oh, so you can't stand there, mate. That's I mean, that's just a taste of the things to come, right? That's why Azir is absolutely terrifying, as able to stand pretty much 1v4 in the mid lane, applying pressure against Rascal Jesters. They can't get on top of him.
Yeah, just outranges. You know, you've got the slide away as well. So Hachimicha and Secret's engage just isn't quite as effective. And now Rascal Jesters, they've got the inside track. They see Flawless here. Can they find the initiate? No, they can't. And they're losing control of mid lane as well. Yeah,
Burning Core are going to be happy to push this one down. Cloud Drake spawning in 3 seconds, but it appears that Rascal Jester do not care about that. Baron is going to be the call. Blue trinkets have been thrown out. Burning Core know that this is going on, but the HP is not information they are privy to. Cannon Barrage going to be thrown out. Ray Farkey, a little bit lonely on the side here as Burning Core asks loser over the wall, go for the engage, but there's no one to follow up. The Nautilus ignited, ticking down as Soul claims the kill. Burning Core not quite on the same page for that engage, but Hachimecha's health bar is low. Flawless chasing him down. Blinking health bars actually for multiple members on Rascal Jesters, and though the Nautilus does go down, it's Burning Core that are able to get the objectives off of this.
Yeah, because they're so far ahead already here that even if they lose Nautilus, they traded more health effectively right now, and Rascal Jesters have to back off. So they lose the inner turret for that particular play there. And if you're a loser, you're calling worth. Yes, the engage caught us all by surprise. I think it caught Burning Core a little bit by surprise, but it pans out. And are they going to get the dragon here as well? They might just do. Loser is back up here.
Yeah, but Recap is coming from base. He does have teleport available, so can join this fight quickly if he needs to. But Rascal Jester seeing the pressure, playing with confidence. We talked about it before this game, and that's what we're seeing from Burning Core, from multiple members of this squad that really hasn't been looking good. They're going for a bit of a Baron flip. The Dredge line goes millimeters wide as Rascal
Okay.
Jester is going to burst this one out and do claim the sole point. Burning Core can't quite find the engage after.
Yeah, without the big team fight ultimates of that cannon barrage, you know, of the moonlight visual and of that depth charge there, Burning Core weren't comfortable stepping up. And I don't think they actually had timer on Hachimicha's Cyclone either, which was the big threat. Now, they do lose Dragon, but they're right on to Baron. And honestly, if you didn't fight for Dragon, this is not a safe call for Baron.
So close. Loser is going to be able to find the engage. Another triple knockup coming through from the depth charge, but it's Hachimicha using the clone to disengage. Once again, Burning Core can't quite find the right in the river.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, you didn't fight for Dragon. Why are you fighting for Baron? Your ults still aren't up right now, and Yuhi had to burn Flash to get away. That will not be up and available the next round. Recap managed to hold Flash. Spirit Rush has a much lower cooldown as well. So, middle court, there is an opportunity for Rascal Jesters here in that next little while if they can set up a Death Bush potentially to try and punish Burning Core. If not, well, then you can always just sit back. I know it's level 14, 2 more levels so that Doomsday Clock ticks down.
And I love what you're talking about, the Death Brush there. One of the reasons that Jinx was such a strong AD carry last split was because of that Get Excited passive. You get one kill in a fight, you're getting a load of movement speed and attack speed. And honestly, no other champion in the game can out DPS you at this point. Probably not even an Azir. So if Rascal Jesters can get that first kill, then the fight looks actually pretty good for them.
Yeah, that's a pretty big if, though. We did see them get the first kill into loser last round, and it still didn't quite pan out in their favor. So I'd argue that, yes, they have to get the first kill, but they also need to make sure they're not losing too much trying to pick that up here. And it's certainly doable. As the game goes on, this was it 3,500 gold lead is mattering less and less. And we're starting to see Rascal Jesters, we're past the 25-minute mark. This is their comfort zone here.
Oh, Secret. Yeah, not looking particularly comfortable there. Hooked. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. RMC, is that his comfort zone in the grave?
I mean, it looked really comfortable for him, at least initially there. I think he was a little bit too comfortable stepping up there, and this might cost them Baron here because that was their tank, their big tanky member who can walk in there and actually face check this Baron.
Yeah, look at the DPS that Burning Core are putting down onto the big purple worm. Rascal Jester really aren't in a space to contest. They are going to be able to claim that Divine Judgment going down onto the Wukong. That's not really the target you want to be using that on, but you do get the first kill of the fight, and you might get the second as well. Recap, Solo as Dicey dives into the back line and delivers a couple of kills to his team. There's no hope for Rascal Jester, as it's a double kill for Yuhi, and Hachimicha has to slither away with no HP at all.
Yeah, won't be able to slither away, and that is going to be, I believe, the ace coming through from this. Did Secret actually get out? You know what? It doesn't matter. Secret can't hold this against a Baroned up team. Burning Core didn't drop a single carry as well here, and middle court, we're saying on the desk a little bit, you know, Rascal Jesters have looked a little bit too passive. They haven't really managed to do anything, and once again, it feels like it's biting them here as Burning Core are looking great and poised to take this win.
And you know what? It's reminding me of the DFM Sengoku game that we saw on day one, right? DFM went for this big scaling comp. I think Rascal Jester have got a little bit more proactivity, but they're not really able to start the fights on their terms.
Yeah, and you're never going to start a fight on your term when you overstep like that and lose one of your big initiation threats, because now you're just down to Hachimicha at this point. And I want to give huge props to Hachimicha because sure, Rascal Jesters lose this fight, but this is a 4v5. It starts as a 3v5 as well. And Hachimicha actually does cause a lot of chaos, a lot of threat into this fight. You see that Cyclone, it's Hachimicha just kind of diving that back line and threatening everybody there. If you had Secret with you to peel for your backline a little bit better with that Unbreakable or even the Glacial Fissure, there was a chance that I know that Soul would have been able to free fire and actually turn the tides, but alone for Hachimicha, it's just not enough CC, not enough disruption.
And look at this, we've got the best AD carry in the LJL. Yuhi for Burning Core up against Soul. 404 on this Aphelios, 3 items completed. You joke, but fundamentally, AD carry is about having bigger numbers than your opponent. And to a certain extent, it doesn't matter if people don't rate you as highly as your opposite number. If you've got the items, if you've got the levels, you can still pump out massive amounts of damage.
Yeah, definitely true. And this is why, you know, even when Yuhi wasn't the most spectacular AD carry in the spring split here, like I believe it was you who mentioned it on the desk here, middle court, he did his job well,
Yeah.
better than, what we've seen from Dent so far. So really happy that Yuhi back on AD carry gets such a stellar game to pop off. Now, when we're talking about all of that, mid inhibitor did go down for the side of Rascal Jesters, but good play from Ino to pressure back on that top side here. It's not quite the same. It's an inner for an inhibitor here, but when you're this far behind, you take what you can get. And most importantly, that also gave Ino level 16.
That it did. No steal potential coming through there. 3 items completed on the Kale. Has gone for a bit more of that AP build with the Wit's End, Nash's Tooth, and the Rift Maker. So a lot of sustain, a lot of true damage. And maybe this Kale is strong enough to go toe-to-toe with Burning Core. 7,000 gold in the advantage for our blue side. Our winless team at the start of this split, but they are looking to change things as they are back out on the map and looking towards this top side.
But they haven't done it just yet here. Middle court Baron buff has expired here, and while they did pick up Dragon, it's only second Drake. A good catch onto Flawless.
Oh, too far up in the enemy jungle, forced to burn that ultimate. But fine, not dead. And of course, he is still going to be able to recast that if he can get a reset in these team fights. So, not the biggest tool expended, as we see Dice level 17 on the Azir. Just makes sieging so free for the side of Burning Core, as I know, still picking up this side lane goal, but he needs to join his team at some point.
Yeah, you can see that Rascal Jesters is struggling a little bit with the range advantage that Dice has on everybody else with that poke. Now, I know.
Oh, that crit was massive! That one was
second one.
Pretty big as well. Ray Farke, though, still doesn't fancy his chances in the 1v1 versus Ino. Cannon Barrage is available. Flawless is making his way down. Could be the pick that ends this game. Divine Judgment still available for the KO. You can 1v2 in these scenarios. Is going to use that ultimate fire out. So much damage onto Ray Farke. The KO has scaled, and Rascal Jester have a lifeline.
And now Rascal Jesters are the one on the hunt here. Soul in Secret coming down to back up Ino on this here. And they don't need to kill Flawless. They can just push in on the turrets here. Burning Core are on the back foot. And finally, they're the ones that have to defend. Flawless playing with fire as Secret is looking to potentially wrap around the turret.
Yeah, not just fire, divine fire, judgment that can come through from Ino on this Kale. It's not a one game for Rascal Jester. It's a single pick into a couple of towers. But it really just illustrates that this Kale is not something that you can underestimate at this point in the game.
Yeah, and we had said that the kill counter matchup into the GP is more for that 1v1. The fact that later on, GP has to play everything perfectly, has to space and kite perfectly, whereas kill, if you get in range, you just run down that GP. And the reason why I don't necessarily think it's a hard counter is because GP can just group up with the team. But in that isolated split push here, that is an issue. And that was a 2v1 as well with the Viego, and you're already having problems. So Rascal Jesters, that's their way into the game right now, is the 4 members just kind of hold off the push of Burning Core, and Ino just splits push as hard as they want. And for Burning Core here, I think you actually just group up and force the 5v4 situation. You're strong enough to dive, and we've already seen that Dice's poke does make the siege rather untenable for Rascal Jesters in the long run here. So for Burning Core, I still feel like it's up to them to figure out, like, hey, how do we close this game out? You've got the tools, you've got that proactivity, whereas Rascal Jesters, all they have is an Ino.
All they have is an Ino. It's a 4-item Kale, RMC. I would possibly use a bit more respect when discussing this pick. Baron has been started up by Burning Core. Secret is going to spot that one out with a Vision Ward, and they really don't have a way in. Hachimecha nearly finds the steal, but is going to be forced to flash over the wheel. No kills going down. That's the main thing for Rascal Jesters. They can stand against this Baron, but if multiple members are falling down, that's going to be pretty rough.
Yeah, and despite getting the Baron, they're the ones losing the turret, getting sieged up. Flawless is on the flank here, and Soul is still kind of low on health.
This could be dangerous. They do find the pick onto Soul. He's overstepped before.
Secret
coming through onto Secret, doing his job on the prom. And Loser goes into the stopwatch, but we're falling down at the end of it.
Can't get past.
Recap goes golden. First kill of the fight secured for Rascal Jester. They just can't get on top of the Ari.
The hypothetical middle court that we were talking about, the last Baron, the fact that, hey, maybe if Secret was up and working with Hachimecha, maybe they can peel, maybe he can win the fight. Yeah, we just saw that. The fact that, Secret was able to peel for Ino, Soul gets the free fire as well, and this is the Rascal Jester's composition, just nice front to back. Does that mean that they're In control, not quite yet, middle court. They do win that particular skirmish, but Burning Core still have Baron, and if they just set up properly, go for that siege. We talk a lot about Dice's ability to outrange, but Ray Farkey's barrels as well. One barrel is, at this point in the game, probably 40% of Soul's health if it doesn't crit. If it does crit, Soul is out of the fight right away here. So for Burning Core, they're setting up for round 2 at the Dragon here. Not the best use of Baron, but still, they don't want to give this one over.
Yeah, denying that soul away from Rascal Jester. Maybe not the most important goal at this point in the game. And, well, you see Rascal Jester really don't care about more Drakes going over.
Soul's getting really close to those.
We have been baited by a fair number of those this game. Rascal Jester going to take advantage of the time that Burning Core invested into that Drake and are actually able to take this mid lane inhib tower. Needs to be careful on the retreat as Flawless on the side thinking about that. Spectrum Wall can go out, does land onto Recap. Forced to burn the Spirit Rush. Ray Farkey doesn't quite get the barrel chain off, and Rascal Jester, they've done this numerous times this game. They sneak in, grab a couple of objectives, and just get out by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, and with that, they've actually completely equalized the turret count as well as the turret pressure. Now, both of them have exposed inhibitors, and middle court, I feel like just one big team fight is left in the cards here. Winner takes all. Baron buff still ticking for another 40 seconds here. Burning Core trying to maximize that particular buff. It feels like they've wasted a lot of it here, and even now, Flawless and Hachimecha?
Yeah, Viego winning the 1v1. Hachimecha just waiting on the side there, thinking about getting a Cyclone into the backline. Multi-man knockup at this stage of the game, it just wins you it, to be perfectly honest. And the past 35 minutes of this game don't matter. It's all about the execution. Recap solo as Hachimetra is diving in. The Cannon Barrage takes out the mid laner, and that might be curtains for Rascal Jester as the monkey goes into the grave. A double kill for Ray Farkey. This may just be it.
Yeah, the death timers are so long at this point. We're at 36 minutes here, middle court, but there's no minions. The rocket doesn't kill Dice, but it does slow them down, and Burning Core can't close. They're waiting for minions to come in.
Wait, they're waiting for minions to come in. Yuhi is going to be able to hit onto this inhibitor. Rylai's actually from the Chaos slowing him down as Flawless low in the bot side. TP is going to come through from Dicey as he does a lot of damage. He's immediately going to be forced to Zhonya's. Burning Core, they got 2 picks, but the death timers are counting down, and they haven't got anything winning with it.
Yeah, 15 seconds, 10 seconds now for Recap. Secret gets tagged up, but the turret's enough to hold for now. They're going to lose 2 inhibitors, but Burning Core, they've got it back. That's it. Somehow Rascal Jesters hold on, and as far as I'm concerned, considering what we've seen middle court, if that Nexus is up, I'm not counting Rascal Jesters out. Now, we do get to see the whole catch here, and it just comes from pretty much a barrel from Ray Farkey, and the crit right there. Recap's already so low, and you're dead to rights. If Hachimecha should have just left it. Recap is dead here, but Hachimecha dying actually hurts them way more, because now the Cyclone's expended as well, and that's what allows Burning Core that freedom to just walk in, even without really the minions, to force that mid lane inhibitor, and then just rotate to that bot side.
But the thing is, those are super minions against a Jinx and a Kayle, who are possibly 2 of the best champions at clearing those in the later stages. So yeah, they're going to be applying pressure. Yeah, you do have to answer them, but it's not as big as an advantage as maybe it could have been. We're about to go to 40 minutes in this game. That is a Mikhail's on Flawless. Mikhail's Viego RMC. Let's talk about that.
Well, I mean, what for Flawless at this point here, you're kind of just an execution bot, right? If anything, we've seen Flawless with the Spectral Maul be the engage at times for Burning Core to find catches, and you don't really need to build any more damage. You've got Ray Farkey, you've got Dice, you've got Yuhi, so I don't hate the fact that you're acting almost as a secondary support at this point in time, to just back up the team. I actually think it's really efficient, and when you consider the cost of Mikhail's and the fact that people are starting to hit 6 items here, that's fine if you're Flawless. I actually really like it. I think it's a smart, intelligent buy. Whether it pays off or not, I don't know, because there's a lot of knockups, and Mikhail doesn't cleanse knockups here. It's mostly, I think, for Recap's charm, and that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is one of the main pick tools that Rascal Jester do have. We said that they've had issues with starting a lot of these fights. As, oh my word, Dice, that is illegal amounts of damage to be putting out. Guys, late game 5 items Azir is quite scary.
Zier's full build. Dice, I mean, you add the boots, it's basically full build at this point. Okay. I like this from Burning Core. They don't have to rush this. There are supers pushing on the bot side here, so taking it slow is in their favor, and Rascal Jesters are the one who have to accelerate this. So coming into this fight, 70% health.
Oh, Hatchemetry is going to be hooked. Divine Judgment used as the Cyclone is going to come out as well, but look at the rest of his team zoned by the Cannon Barrage. The clone is enough to buy some time. It's a trade of ultimates, nothing more than that, but Burning Core are going to reaggress onto that Baron recap.
Gotta go.
Does find the charm, does find loser. Oh. And that might be the signal, the go button for Rascal Jester, but they can't quite get the engage. Burning Core could just keep them at arm's length.
And bot side, there's double super minions pushing in right now. I know needs to go back to answers, or recaps actually the one they're sending back up. They both have TP. That is perfectly fine. And why is Soul in the mid lane here? Soul, you need to be here with the rest of the team.
Baron down to 3,500. Burning Core are going to go for the burst on
1K?
it. No contest. That's going to be secured by you here. Soul, nearly 400 HP. Hatchemetcher forced to flash away. These fights have been so cagey. Rascal Jester do not want anyone to go down at this stage of the game because that would be GG.
Yeah, they're going for the dragon here. And you know what? You can burn as quick as possible, but you need to exit right away here. Look at it. Dragon is already down. And that still isn't Soul?
It's going to update. It's going to update in the... There we go.
There we go. I was like, wait, no, it's not.
Going in. Oh, the Emperor's Denial! That's massive! Oh, that's a huge play coming through from Dice. Nowhere to go for Secret. Nowhere to go. He gets the Divine Judgment. The reset comes through, raining out rockets, raining down damage onto Burning Core. He goes forward. He goes down. Somehow Rascal Jester find the fight.
And they can't end either. Middle caught. Look at the base. The turret's taking a pounding right now. They actually lose a Nexus turret despite winning the fight. And Rascal Jesters, they've skilled up. They're winning team fights and choke points, but they can't do anything because of all the losses earlier. Middlecott, we are staring down the barrel of potentially a 50-minute banger.
I mean, it's been a 40-minute banger so far. This last fight, Dice going for an engage from such ridiculous distance away. And I thought that Burning Core had this, but the Divine Judgment onto Soul was massive.
Oh. Yeah, and the Guardian Angel as well for Soul to buy so much time. There's just so many tools to keep the carries alive. And even worse, unfortunately, for Burning Core is now you're funneled into a corridor against a Jinx and a kill. And they're just getting so much splash damage in these fights here as well. And look at the positioning of Loser there. Loser wasn't even really in the fight. So you've got all these squishy carries running forward here, funneled into a very tight corridor. Oh, I know. Yeah, okay. This kill is well and truly online. At this point, Burning Core just needs to avoid team fights. You get the poke down with Rayfarky, get the poke down with Dice, and if they're not below 50% health for that kill, for that Jinx, don't even look. Don't even think about trying to fight them 5v5.
Rascal Jester are the late game team in the LJL. As that clock ticks up, their chances of winning only increase. That seems to be independent of composition, of game state. As long as the numbers keep going up, the chance of the enemy Nexus falling for Rascal Jester gets ever higher. Now, we're in the real nitty-gritty of this game. We're at 4th Baron spawning or something. Elder finally gonna be gracing the Rift in a few minutes' time. Surely, over one of those objectives, we will find the game-ending fight.
Yeah, and this time, Rascal Jesters have both their inhibitors back up here. Supers are actually pushing 4 Rascal Jesters in that mid lane, but Secret getting chunked out again. I feel like it's going to come down to this middle caught. Can Burning Core get the poke down without getting engaged on? If they can, I think Burning Core can still take this. But if not, if it's an equal numbers fight at this point, that kill in team fights is just absolutely massive. And Burning Core don't feel like they have a good answer right now to the double carries of Soul and Ido.
Rabadon's death cap completed. Absolutely insane AP values going to be coming out of this Kale. And for the first time, honestly, in this entire game, it's Rascal Jester who are in Burning Core's side of the map, who are stepping forward, who are making plays aggressively. Obviously, mid lane inhib has already gone down, but this is the first time that we've seen the Jesters outside their own half of the map in quite a while.
Without taking massive risks, because when we have seen them push into that mid lane, a lot of it was at the risk of losing a different objective here. Now, recap.
Oh, that's a deep TP.
The Spirit Rush.
Oh, look at that. Oh, this
Where's he going?
Oh, this is so risky. Oh, it's a double TP. Dice is here as well. Rascal
He's got
Jester's
Nemesis
brought
departed.
out. I know, he's going to use that Divine Judgment, but he's not getting any damage dealt to him. Burning Core, you've thrown this game away, or maybe you haven't, because I know he's dead. He finds him in the fight, but here's comes Soul. So much damage from the Aphelios. Yuhi takes over the fight. Burning Core take over the game. They take down Rascal Jesters. This surely is it.
Oh, I can't believe this middle call. What a way to end it. We're setting up these epic fights around objectives, and Burning Core, no. Ray Farkey, the heart, soul, and mind of this team, calling for that TP, going with Dice here, forcing what looked like a 3v5 initially, but they survived. They did it. And Burning Core, they pick up their first win of the split in the best possible fashion.
Yuhi with the redemption, back on AD carry, back on top of the scoreboard. 9, 1, and 7, huge damage numbers as Burning Core claim their first victory of